Hello, everybody. Okay, good. This is supposed to be a little bit participatory, and that as the conversation goes on, think about questions you have, and we'll have time for those at the end. So we got to do a couple of vocal exercises before we start. So none of this, hello. How many of you are here at your first ever cultural caravan event? This may mean that you have been to the dairy before, but first ever cultural caravan event. Hands high. All right, well, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Josh Halpern, and I'm the founder and artistic director of the Caravan, which I started back in 2021 during the pandemic to help support this community of artists here in Boulder County and the local business community as well, both of which were suffering mightily due to the circumstances of that time. But since then, we have become a uniquely community-embedded organization. We work with local businesses still, of course, but also social service nonprofits, with other local community organizations. We visit Title I schools within the BVSD. We have partnerships with municipalities throughout the area. So, as you might notice in this program book, which I hope you picked up on your way in, Mallory should have encouraged you to pick one up with you. It has information about this entire week, which is a very special one for me because Victor Mestas, who probably many of you already know of and love, was one of our first artists who we featured in that early season in 2021. And since then, I've just had to be careful about not programming him too much, because he just has it all. He's always game for whatever I throw at him. And so I'm very excited to learn more about him tonight. And this is a great precursor to all of the other events that are happening this week, because it gives you an inside look at Victor, his life, his music, and then particularly on Saturday night, which is the main stage concert, you'll come in with all of this deep background that will, I think, improve an already very enjoyable concert experience. Couple of just minor housekeeping notes. You also should have been given a survey, so please fill that out at the end, even if you loved it, especially if you loved it. We love to hear that, and then return it to Mallory at the end. I also want to thank Mickey and Mike Ritter, and Nikki Woolman and Dave Folker. We have 25% representation here tonight by them. Dave's back here. They have come together to make this week possible and enable Victor's residency, as well as the visit by two of his very esteemed colleagues who you will be seeing later this week, and maybe one tonight. So without further ado, who has already seen Victor play in public? Okay, great. And how many of you feel like you know a lot about him? Because I didn't before. I think his wife is raising her hand or something. Well, let's bring him on. This is Behind the Music with Victor Mestas. Can't do it without you, Victor. So we always, with these interviews, have a bit of a pre-interview where we talk about the things that we might share with you, and we talk about the music that the artist will play. Unfortunately, or for better or for worse, I don't know, you, Victor, are very averse to planning. So I have no idea what you're playing for us tonight. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Would you like to start at the piano, or would you like to move over there after we've talked a little bit?
Well,
Is it on?
Like this? I don't know. Okay. I would like to leave. The first time I'm doing this, you know. I go really wrong.
That's what I'm here for. This is a safe space.
No,
Nothing leaves this room
yeah,
except for all of these people who hear anything that you might say.
Thank you so much for having me, and let's talk for a bit.
Okay, great. Yeah. So there's so many things to cover tonight. We had just the most lovely conversation the other night at your home, which I almost regret having because we went so deep on certain things that I'm going to maybe have to pretend to not know things that are amazing about you. But I want maybe to start with this hazy thing of, defining yourself as a musician, where you come from, because right away when we were talking, you started to discuss this misconception that a lot of people have about what side of your family the music comes from, and whether you are Venezuelan or Brazilian or Cuban, or what any of this comes from. So can you talk about that a little bit for a second?
Sure. I was talking to Helen, Sivana's wife. We were talking about people dancing or playing or being able to do both. I cannot dance, period. Period. I was living for a while in Spain, and the girls will come after I finish my set with the salsa band, and I want to dance with you. They said, no, I don't know how to dance. You don't like me, and they were really upset and I never have any talent for dancing. Completely non-dancing people. I have abilities here. I don't have any abilities here. So. And specifically your question, my father was Cuban and my mother was Venezuelan. So when people find out that my father was Cuban, they immediately associate the piano, the music, the salsa, I don't know how to say, the happy vibe with Cuba. And my father was a tone-deaf guy, no, the same non-talent I have for dancing was my father with the music. So everything comes from my mother's side. My grandfather, which of course I never met, he was this is old people because my parents were old, when I was born. He was a chapel master. He was an organ player when still in Venezuela was a big deal to be, the chapel master. It's long gone now, no? And then the next guy, my grandfather, was a violin player. I never met him either. And then my mom was like a nice, voice, but she was a teacher. She wasn't a musician. And then me. So everything comes from that side, from my mother's side.
And so the way that they come together, and then how you result from that is
that's a mystery.
Right. We don't know. We may never know. But as you mentioned, your dad was quite late in his life when he met your mom.
Yeah, sort of. It was enough to be the third marriage. You can. So I have a 85 years old sister, and even older brothers, but he passed. But
right, which is crazy because you're only 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Old but young.
Yeah, but that's a choice.
Yeah.
So the dynamic between your parents seems so fascinating because it in fact includes not only them, but a whole network of people that you grew up around and who are responsible for raising you, right?
Yeah.
And so, first of all, let's place this geographically, because we have all of this ambiguity about whether you're Cuban or Venezuelan or whatever, for those who care about that. Political comment in there. I will redact. So where are we at this time? You're a little kid growing up in
Caracas, Venezuela.
Right.
Yeah.
But your dad is from Cuba.
Yeah.
Your mom has come
from
She's from Caracas.
From Caracas,
yeah.
Yes.
And I think what's also interesting is that you have not only gotten your musical talent from your mother's side, but now you are a very active teacher here. After a long time, you now have a totally packed schedule over at CU. where you work in the jazz department and do Latin band and
Latin jazz big band and an actual jazz piano, the piano lab too. Some lectures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you talk about your mom as a teacher?
Well, I mean, I teach because they call me, and it's great, and I love it. But I always say the same. I really, truly respect teachers and teaching, because in music, especially in anything, but in music it happens a lot. You can completely nurture somebody or completely frustrate somebody. So I was always on the edge of that happening, but with teachers. So that's something that as I say, I truly respect. My mom come from a kind of poor family, and she, 9 siblings. And she found her way to get to a PhD, on the education and philosophy. And then she went, I don't know the story, because she passed when I was young. She found her way to go to Italy, and then she came back, and she was I don't know the proper word, like an educational TV pioneer. So she was, we have pictures of her on the TV station, with the blackboard.
This was an unfamiliar thing to me, because the only analogy I could draw was like Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't a show. It was like a teacher teaching on TV, literally.
They would put it on TV in the classroom at school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the entire country watched your mom.
Yeah.
Whatever, we'll just move past it.
Yeah, and then it was. I don't know when it was. I guess on the 50s, when she was still. No, I don't know. I really don't know, because the I don't know the word. The chronicle person is my sister. She has the pictures. She has the stories. She has the well, this is going back to Cuba. They have, you remember, well, everybody knows here the Tropicana, in La Habana. That's the Tropicana still is going. I play on the Tropicana. That's another story. I couldn't believe, because one day I was a kid, and I was going through, old pictures, and I found this nice Tropicana souvenir, where you go for the show and for the dinner, and then when you leave, there is a picture of you. So there is my parents, on that big table, and wine and whatever, and the dancers around, and it's like velvet. It's really cheesy, but it's like velvety frame, like old-fashioned stuff. And then on 91, I went to play to Cuba, for the second time, and we ended playing on the Karl Marx and the theater and the Tropicana, whatever year anniversary. I couldn't believe, it's like going back on black and white. Everything was incredible. The same trees, the same dancers on the trees, incredible. No, I forgot the
we went from your mother in the classroom to your mother in Club Tropicana.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was, like I say, like a pioneer and very beloved teacher in Venezuela. She got sick, really sick, when I was 12, and she passed when I was 17. But she was, an important person on education, like people respect her. So the whole country, all the graduations for that year, they have her name, whatever, class of 1980, Maria Mestas,
Yeah.
So but I was a kid. I couldn't value the real,
The significance of it.
Yeah. I mean, you just, okay, great.
But nevertheless, I mean, to have your mother, who, is significant to the whole country, sure, but more importantly, significant to you.
Yeah, because
yeah.
What I mean is, I was a kid and I didn't realize, but now not a kid, and I think about it. And I this is too long, the story. I was
I'll
a
cut you
very
off
good
if it goes too
student.
long.
I was like incredibly good, you know. I wish my daughters were like me when I was a kid, you know. I was super good student. And then when I started liking it, it was like, whoa, it was horrible. But I will wake up like at 4 a.m. with her. She was grading stuff, and I was doing my homework, you know, for school. And I remember quite a few times somebody will come at 6 a.m. It was a student with some kind of problem. So the only time she had for him or for her was 6 a.m. And there will be some, you know, I was 9 and the guy was, I don't know, 18 or 20. And they were like trying to find a way to, you know, whatever the problem was. So then when I am more grown up, I realized how deep was the connection with education. You know, she and you know, Venezuela, or I could say Latin America, that the students are the guys on, you know, demonstrations and tear gas and all that. And my mom will stay with them, so she will come back home from work and she will be, you know, like she was on the demonstration, you know.
Yeah, you said that she had streaks down her face because she had been hit with the tear gas.
Again, I was a kid. I didn't realize, you know, the significance of wow, you gotta be really into that to stay there. She didn't have why, you know, but she will stay there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and I think that she was, because I know you, compelled by something that transcended any sort of logistical difficulty of making all of those things happen. Because I should note that this week, even as we do all of this music all over town, in all of the nooks and crannies of that, you are teaching your students too. You're doing the same thing. The only thing that you're not doing is getting hit by tear gas, but it's only Wednesday, so time will tell. So I think you have so much in common with her, and I think that your kids would say the same thing, just in the way that I see them relate to you and you relate to them. But fortunately, you've been able to be there for them in a way that your mom wasn't able to, because it wasn't just that your mom got sick. You can tell me if you don't want to talk about this, but your mom had a stroke when you were 12, and she lost a lot of her motor skills, and she actually much of the time called you by a different name for those intervening 5 years after that happened.
That's another thing I found fascinating. Not the circumstance, of course, but how the mind works. You know, because she lost everything, like everything. But she learned to walk. She learned to read. She learned to write, and then she recovered her signature. She has beautiful calligraphy, like phenomenal calligraphy, like so beautiful. But she never called me Victor again.
What did she call you?
Pedro, one of the siblings. Pedro. I was Pedro for 5 years.
Yeah. And so, you know, she's obviously still there, but she's got a huge amount on her plate. Your dad did not understand the music thing at all.
Not at all. He likes music, but it was completely different. And
you touched on how you were a good student, and then it started to tank.
Yeah.
And I think part of that goes along with the fact that so much was happening at home for you at the time. But the major thing was that you were going to a science school.
Basically, it's not like openly called science school, but that was the you know. And I like science, and I still like it, but it was like an all-male Catholic, you know. It just, boo, it was so bad. Yeah, it was really bad, because at some point, I for real, I didn't want to be there.
Right.
You know, Dad, I don't want to go to that school, you know, and you know, some very few friends and nice teachers, and this one guy, he was in charge of philosophy. And he always, we were 32 on the room, 42 on the room.
42 students?
42. And he will go, who doesn't want to be here? Who is not like science inclined? Who is humanities inclined? Month after
You were the
month
only one.
after month, for years.
Yeah.
Our high school is 5 years. So I was really good on the first one, and worse and worse on the next 4.
Yeah.
So it was. I don't have nice memories. No, for real, because my friends they found me, WhatsApp, and hey Victor, we have this group, and I joined the group. I wrote once, like 3 years ago. I never again, because I don't have nice memories. They were like soccer players, and
Yeah. So who was nurturing the music in you at that time?
My uncle. I have a angel in Spanish, angel. He was a real angel for me. So he will buy books for me. Music books, like he will go to Yamaha store and grab, whatever, like 100 big hits. So I will learn, music like from his era, let's say.
But but his angle to you was so funny, because now this is sort of the subtext of the week in a way, which is that you have made your way all the way to the US and are now labeled correctly or incorrectly as the Latin jazz pianist. But your uncle was saying, you need to learn the American music, because that's what the Americans like to hear. Yeah. So it was a book that it wasn't like 100 hits with, Cuban songs. No. And it was like Queen.
It can be, Elton John, it can be Nat King Cole, it could be Glenn Miller, because he was a military professional. His thing was so they sent him. I'm guessing on the 50s, because my cousins are like the same age, to Panama Canal. So he was there, doing some kind of, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. So when he started playing the piano, he will make me play, 3 coins in the fountain. I don't know, more, da 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 da. You gotta play Misty. You gotta play. Which is okay, and I really learned a lot. But remember, I was 10. I was 11, so my brother and my cousin were outside playing cops, and I was here listening to Mario Lanza with him, Yeah, tenor stuff, Mario Lanza, I don't know, Los Cinco Latin, Nat King Cole, of course. So it was extremely boring for me, because I want to play. But he won't let me go, Yeah. I mean, my cousin will be back from playing, which is like 3 hours later, And I will be with the turntable listening to this and that.
So when did it become something that you gravitated to on your own, as opposed to something that was being dictated to you?
No, but I was like 15, 16, because I started working and I liked it more and more. So I started buying records.
You started working as a pianist?
Yeah.
And where was that?
We have this little band in a church, but the way is completely different to what we can think here. We were really young, and we just want to make music. It wasn't like necessarily religious focus. I don't know how to say it. It was just a bunch of friends, and we ended playing there because one played guitar, the other played, organ.
Just make sure you keep the mic
sorry.
closer to your face.
The other played drums, so we ended playing. The church was a good...
It was like a pickup garage band. Sort of, kind of.
Yeah,
Not
but
like that kind of music, but that spirit.
Softer, smooth, smooth. It wasn't never rough. You know, I remember I played an organ that it was like a wind. But if you play before, it was, I don't know the word, like charged. It will. So one, they were waiting for the music, and I come on, organ, come, let's go. And I thought it was ready. So I started playing.
Wait, you would. This was
people looking, you know.
This was the keyboard you had to work with?
No, it was an organ. It was an actual.
You had
organ.
a full-on organ that you took to gigs?
No, it wasn't the church.
Oh, you played at the
but
church.
I have another
okay.
organ that I took to gigs.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the organ would just deflate, and
Exactly,
and the music would stop.
It would.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've safeguarded against that. This is not air powered.
Yeah.
And so all of this is ramping up to the time that you are leaving school, which coincides with leaving high school,
Yeah.
which also coincides with the time of your mother's passing.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, you kind of move into the next chapter somewhat fluidly. Is that fair to say?
I think so, but without realizing that.
That
I didn't, because I was such a bad student that I will have private teachers, you know, one for mathematics, one for chemistry, one for physics.
Oh, that's right. You would have to do the remedial class before the school year started every year.
Exactly.
So that they could pass you and sign you off.
So one of that guys with completely by chance, more than 40 years later, called me last week because he met another compadre in Miami. He was a biology student, and somebody recommended him for the lessons. And one day he gets to my place, and I am playing. I said, "Wow, man, you should go to the conservatory." I thought the conservatory was the conservatory. You just have to go there, take a form, fill it, and they will do this test, you know, like super easy, and you get there. So thanks to him, it was completely by chance I went to the music school.
But let's be straight. Let's be careful here. How easy was the exam really? Like, out of this group of people, how many people are getting into the conservatory?
Everybody, I guess.
Everybody gets in.
I'm serious. I'm serious because
Let's go.
You have to do this, and you go. Oh, that's good.
I don't know if I can do that.
What are you listening here? Well, I can hear a cello, an oboe. Wow, wait, this is a French horn. Oh, yes. He was a very old guy. It's lost in translation. This is an old guy. When I say old, I say like, I don't know, he could be 90 years old. And he was working all his life there. So basically, the acceptance was up to him. So this is a big line of people on the street waiting the school to be open. They will open at 5 a.m. to hand out these forms.
Applicants lined down the street?
Yes. You know.
What kind of school is this?
Yeah, this is Venezuela, compadre. So it's really another, you know.
Okay.
It's just different. So, but wait, check this. So you are a guy. So what do you want to know? I would like to play cello. Okay. You have to do one year of theory, you know? Mm-hmm. And then you go for cello. And then I want to play piano. Yeah, you have to go, you know, 1 year this, 1 year that, and then you can start the piano. But any woman, what do you want to play? This is true. This is 1981. I want to play violin. No. You will get married and stop playing the violin. So that's it. This is an old guy, like 90 years, you know, like grumpy and the whole time. So any woman will be up to him, you know, like a yes or not on the spot without the test. Yeah, this is true. Of course, that changed, but if you think it's just, you know, 30, 40 years ago, whatever, 45 years, is still pretty recent, no?
I mean, I feel like that still happens in a lot of areas. It just happens maybe more subtly than a 90-year-old leveling his judgment in a room in one single moment.
Exactly. It was crazy because the I don't know the pensum. Do you use that?
Pension?
Pensum.
Pensum?
Pensum. It's like the material.
Anybody help me out?
Yes, what you go to school, so the subjects, what they teach you, that's the pensum of
like a curriculum.
I guess so.
Okay.
It was very old-fashioned, based in some French school, so that we didn't get there, but I will. I dropped out because I was doing the 5th year of 10 years long program. The piano was 10 years long.
So you would have graduated when you were 27.
Exactly, something like that. Which is like wow! I just start playing and recording and touring, and I got hooked on that, and I move on.
The 90-year-old, it was his entry-level job. He had just graduated the year before.
Yeah, and if you want to play organ, you need 7 years of piano approved before start, with the organ, which was, I don't remember how many years. So it was extremely long, exceptionally long.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Not anymore. Now it's like, like everywhere else, 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question that, we continue to learn all the time. But
Exactly.
to be in an academic program for that long is
10
absolutely
years.
wild.
Exactly.
And so, but you found some things there that were useful, but by and large, it was all of the playing that you were doing with people of your own age and going out and playing for audiences.
But I mean, I like the way that happened to me. I like,
Yeah.
It's like Gustavo, you have to please come to the concert. Gustavo, my 2 best friends are here.
Well, that's a great point to move over to them. I mean, first of all, you're going to have to just stop this conversation in its tracks
Now
to play music at some point.
I just want to say, this is the moment to say thanks. This guy asked me, who do you want to play with? And I just went all the way. Man, I want to play with my friends. Okay, who? This and that. Where are they? Well, one moved to Miami. The other is still in Venezuela. We'll bring them. So this is completely unbelievable. So please,
and how long?
Thank this guy.
Okay, yeah. We got a lot more to get through. No.
Because it's when you say dream come true, it was like undoable completely, from on my side, and you make it happen. So.
Well, just to speak on that for one moment, like the whole idea of what we do here is that we give the artists that we feature essentially carte blanche. That you go a lot of places and they say, we'd like to hear this, we'd like to hear that, can you please do this? And the question always, not just to you, but to anyone else who has been on this stage this season, has been, what do you want to show? What do you care about right now? And as a musician myself, I know how important the people are in that music making experience, that you can have exactly the program you want to play, but to do it with a randomly selected group or people who, God forbid, I would think would be better for you to play with, would hinder the whole thing, and that sense of connection is all off. So the whole thing has to come together. And I imagine that at the piano you feel like your ear and sensibility and ability are expanded because of the people who are surrounding you. No?
Yeah.
And so how long has it been since you've... So this is Rafael Greco and Gustavo Carusi, who are here. Rafael is the godfather of your 2 daughters.
Yeah, one of my daughters.
Oh, one of your daughters. Yeah. Okay. And so first of all, how long has it been since you've seen them?
Well, the big deal is we used to play so much together, and then they moved here, and I didn't play with them for 13 years.
13 years.
13 years. So it's something.
Yeah. And so at what point in your growing up do you meet them?
No, it was.
Or was it later?
Yeah, if I'm 23 now, it was like when I was 7. No, I don't know. 90. I mean, I was a big fan of Rafa way before we met.
Okay.
Way before, because he used to play with a super band, and Gustavo. Gustavo is from another city, so there was no chance to meet. But then I went playing there, touring, and we finally met. And then he moved to Caracas. So I am on the middle of everybody, because I want to say Gustavo. Gustavo moved from Barquisimeto to Caracas to go to school. But when he goes to school and have a degree and all that, he already was a monster, He was like we say, we play by ear, But he was like he is, But it's not as simple as I'm saying. But he got his training like when he already was like a completely masterful player,
I think we should
then
bring
Rafa is the other way. Combined, I am on the middle. The only dropout is me. So
they all stay true to the
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm still the bad sheep in the trio.
I don't think they would say that. So I have 2 questions. First of all, I think now is a good time to bring Gustavo up and have a little music between the 2 of you.
Okay.
We said we were going to do it at the end, but let's do it now because you
Okay,
brought them up.
sure.
And then the other question to all of you, how much do I need to be on him about him keeping the mic in his face? Can you hear him okay? It's okay? Okay, good.
Fine.
All
Okay.
right, we're getting a big thumbs up in the back. That's what I care about. Gustavo, where did you go? Come on up. Okay, so we're taking our first musical interlude. Yeah? And so I would just like if it's not clear enough, you can get ready at the piano. If it's not clear enough how warm the relationship is between these guys, I just want to say from my own perspective, I am very accustomed to welcoming these guest artists to Boulder, and I set up, home hosts for them. Some of you have generously done that in the past. And I get them at the airport and I deliver them and we spend the week together. And always the relationships are close and it's always a lovely thing to see. But I have seen the 2 of these guys so little because they got to town before I did so that they could all be together. And Victor said, absolutely not are they staying with anybody else in the community. They're staying at my house. I haven't seen them in 12 or 13 years. So they're all under one roof. And they're just hanging out. It's like a litter of puppies, practically. So they couldn't, you guys, every time, already I've known you for 36 hours. And you walked in the room today and I just started smiling. So please, what are we going to hear? Something. Okay. You can sit there. We had a chair set up for him, and then he sat down here, and he said, I think I like this better. This guitar is also Victor's guitar, and we're very lucky that Gustavo knows how to repair a guitar. So all of this tuning up and everything is because this guitar has been undergoing a radical restoration project over the last couple of days.
So he gets to my place and hey, Gustavo, I have this guitar, it's not a great guitar, but he plays and this did a new whatever, I don't know the name.
The bridge at the base of the strings, he carved a new one.
So
we're not just saying he put new strings on.
It was like a midnight, and we are looking on my garage for something. So I found this Home Depot palette to mix the painting, and he made this thing out of that.
So, yeah, if anybody brought any woodworking jobs, he's going to set up shop just over here at the conclusion of the event.
So we're going to play a Brazilian tune, a bossa nova by Antonio Carlos Jobim, that my uncle make me listen to, you know. You gotta learn this.
And then you're going to segue right into We Are the Champions, right? Thanks, buddy. So, yeah, give it up for Gustavo. I don't know if this is a silly question, but what separates for you jazz from Latin jazz? What's the difference?
Well, when they say jazz is, you know, more American, you know, ding 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 ding. When it's Latin jazz, you know, there are congas and montunos implied, but I of course there is a difference, but I try not to think about that, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because it's just, I mean, if you are teaching, you have to, because they are different styles, one based on the other one, but it just takes away time, you know. I prefer to, like we were talking, you know, like music, you know. If I have to teach and make clear the difference, I will, but if not, I just try to play.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had such a good question that was on the tip of my lips, and now I've forgotten it. I mean, I agree with you that the genres tend not to matter that much, but I think I'm wrong about it because I can think about a million examples that go against what I'm about to say. But to me, there's something about Latin jazz that just invites people to dance more than with standard jazz.
Yeah, that's true. There was a famous Latin jazz musician with his band, Mario Bauzá from Cuba, and every time they ask him about that kind of questions, he said, "Man, the Latin jazz is so good that makes you dance."
Yeah,
that was the whole definition for him.
Right.
It just moves you. So which is a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, because it's like an instinct. It's a reaction. It's something that you cannot fake. You just want to. It can be rock too, but what I'm talking is not the music, but the body reaction to the music.
Right.
Even tapping, it can happen or not.
Yeah, and with the rhythm that you tapped out on your legs when you were describing that easy test, where we all said, "Oh, sorry, here, let's hear that again." That actually, a lot of those rhythms are so much more idiomatic to your culture than to. I mean, we know how to dance in 4 or in 3, but we don't know how to dance in 7 or something like that. And Venezuelans do. But it also gets to something about the role that music plays in daily life, which, we have Ziv and I and Helen Masango here, and they were our artists in residence back in November. They're Zimbabwean musicians, and music plays such a social role in everything, and it's something that if you're grieving, if you're celebrating, whatever, it will look like a party because the music invites you to not only come and listen, but to be part of it in a very participatory way. And I can think of, elements in the Venezuelan culture that, everybody knows how to play the cuatro. Yeah. Everybody has a cuatro in the house. And can you talk a little bit about just maybe the difference between, maybe it just boils down to you guys know how to have more fun than we do, but I'm Jewish, so we play music when we're, even if we're sad or happy, it still sounds like we're complaining. That's a question without a question mark at the end.
It's like I'm from Caracas, and we have great music and great musicians there. But these guys he's from Barquisimeto, Gustavo, and we call the musical capital of Venezuela, Barquisimeto. Okay. And they are great musicians. But Rafael is from Maracaibo, which many of you know because, the main oil. I met many people from Boulder that used to work in Maracaibo. The musicians there, you better play, because if not, you will feel really bad, because they are strong musicians, like heavy cats.
They're just going to steamroll you if you don't stay strong?
It's just the incredible musicians. So, but to me, everything comes from what you are saying. Any family, everybody sings, everybody dances, and everybody plays something. Really good or not, but they played. The music is completely, on
ingrained.
Venezuela. Yes, absolutely, there.
And so, this weaves into something that we talked about a little bit the other night, which is that while you're growing up and becoming an adult, Venezuela is essentially collapsing.
Yeah.
And one of sort of the musical cornerstones that Venezuela has become known for internationally is El Sistema and the Simon Bolivar Orchestra. Yeah. Show of hands of people who have a clue of what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'll give a very brief overview. the guy who started it, his name is
Abreu,
yeah,
José Antonio Abreu.
yeah, and he is this sort of, I would say, kind of like a master teacher meets mafia don meets just he's a mythical figure to some degree.
Yeah, he
in
is.
Venezuela.
What he did was great.
And he starts this youth orchestra system in Venezuela that takes kids who are living in somewhat impoverished conditions.
Yeah, not necessarily, but that's the
ad copy
yeah,
for it.
Exactly.
And they have this entire huge network of youth orchestras that now tour all around the world and have turned out quite a number of very famous musicians. Actually, Gonzalo Tepa studied, who is a jazz bassist who is well known here. He lives in Louisville. He studied in El Sistema. Yeah. One of his very close friends in that time was Gustavo Dudamel, who is the current music director the conductor of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. He's music director designate of the New York Philharmonic. He is arguably the most famous Venezuelan musician in the world today.
Yeah, of course.
And there are other examples of people who have made their way into very illustrious ensembles. And so they go all over the world, and they have YouTube videos that have amassed millions and millions of views where they're playing Marquez danzons and standing up and singing and everything. But the rest of the concert is Beethoven, Brahms. It's the canon of Western classical music.
Exactly. So you go around the world like a Venezuelan orchestra, which but you're playing a repertoire over and over and over and over again, which is not Venezuelan music. It doesn't have to be like exclusive, but you make you think, because, the thing is, to me, it started like a great idea, and it is a great idea. But when Chavez, sorry to get into political thing, but when Chavez get there, he used the Sistema for propaganda. So they go, it's not anymore, people don't know, like a Venezuelan youth orchestra, but there are many with the same name, So it's like A, B, C, and they are, touring and playing, and then, wow, this is, but now
hundreds of musicians who are essentially ambassadors.
Which is great. We love music and all that, but what I don't like is not telling the whole story behind. That it's not.
Well, and there's one scene that you drew for me the other night, which had to do with Dudamel, that paints a very succinct portrait of the conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a few years ago that we have the Youth Day where we celebrate, we commemorate this battle, He was younger Venezuelans on the independence war. So every year the students, do demonstrations on the Youth Day. And that day, Dudamel was conducting the orchestra, and outside on the downtown Caracas was a big, problems in the demonstration and bombings and shootings. And actually, they killed few students, but Dudamel chose to play anyway, So we don't, forgive that, because it will be a big deal if you stop the thing and say something. You say nothing and did it, So that's not nice, And he goes like, we are artists and we are above. No, we are not above men, because the same artists are struggling, So.
Absolutely. Well,
so that's me. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna, but I just tell the people, because if I don't say it, there's no way you will find out about this, So if I have the chance, I will say it. He's a phenomenal musician, but we are not only musicians, We are human beings. We should be more than musicians.
And I think that, there's a Leonard Bernstein quote, which is very famous and gets trotted out all the time whenever there are atrocities. There might be too many these days for it to be trotted out, because you would just always be wheeling it out and then wheeling it back in and then but he says, this will be our response to violence, to make music more passionately and more committed than ever before. And there is I don't want to discredit that, because it's a worthwhile sentiment.
Yeah.
And there have been times in my own life where things are going crazy in the world, and the music that we make doesn't seem to have a direct impact.
Yeah.
And so when people speak that way, it is powerful in a way. But and you could easily tell the story of Dudamel conducting this orchestra in a way that
this guy
sort
is
of
the
shares
LA
that.
Philharmonic conductor, and he's quitting that to go to New York Philharmonic.
Well,
so
and not
if
only
I'm
that,
telling this to you, I don't know, 100 people, can you imagine the power of Dudamel saying something? He's saying nothing, It's like it's not happening. So that's not nice.
Well, and you telling me about this was the first I was hearing about it, because he has created analogous programs like El Sistema in Los Angeles, and
Which
they're talking
really
about doing
nice.
the same thing in New York, which is great.
Of course.
But at the same time, it constitutes a certain level of erasure that is happening with Venezuelan culture. So this has been a very long walk to the question of, on a granular personal level at that time in Venezuela, what does that look like as the political regime is becoming more and more obviously dictatorial, as the economic system is collapsing, people have nothing, and there's this thriving artistic cultural beacon that is shining out to the world and telling a very specific story.
Yeah.
And inside the homes, I assume the cuatros are still being played, the folk music is still being sung.
Yeah,
But how does that work together or come into conflict?
No, it's a conflict. It's a I don't know how to say. It's like a big lie, because it's this I don't know, the glittering thing happening here, but the reality is completely the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
The actual Sistema is suffering because Venezuela is not doing well. So even the Sistema is suffering. When the Sistema on the nice times when Chavez started, they will give the Sistema the 99% of the cultural budget.
Yeah.
Picture that. So what happened to the theater, to the movies, to the wireless, to the whatever? It wasn't Sistema involved. Wow, the whole thing died.
Well, and there's a reason why you're here, why Gustavo now lives in Miami, why Jorge Glem lives in Miami.
Exactly.
All of these great Venezuelan artists have been. I mean, Jorge Glem can't go back to Venezuela.
No, he it makes no sense anyway.
Right. But I don't think they let him back in. I think that
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would you mind sharing a piece of music now that speaks really to that essence of Venezuela? You have anything?
But yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to play from a dear friend of us, Henry Martinez, Criollísima. Venezuelan folk, It's like a Venezuelan standard.
Victor, can you stay there a second? Because of what we were just talking about, I think I listened to that in a different way. There was something like kind of bittersweet or melancholy in the melody itself, but the jazz element brings in a different. Can you play the melody at the beginning, just the right hand alone? I mean, it's a minor key melody, and there's something. What are the? I mean, now you're gonna have to come up to use the microphone, but what are the? There's words to it, yeah. I think it's on.
Actually, the lyrics is a poem, really beautiful. Criollísima. It's like a criollo, creole. Maria Jose, where are you? Creole.
Creole. Yeah.
But criollísima, what would it be? Oh, okay. So it's about Venezuelan women, and the description is completely lost in translation. Especially if I do it on my cruise ship English, it will be like.
Got it. Okay.
It's really beautiful description of a Venezuelan woman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful song, and so we're going to need to transition to some questions in a moment, if there are questions. So, get your hands ready. But is there anything for this week that we have? Actually, I have one more question, which is that generally with these interviews, the feedback has been good. And then occasionally, we've gotten a couple of comments from people that have indicated that there's maybe a level of inappropriateness to it, that I, as a white guy, sit here and ask questions of people who come from different backgrounds and sometimes talk about difficult things like, the breakdown of political systems in your country or things that you went through personally. And I know what I feel about that, which is that over the years that we've gotten to know each other, we have engaged in this exchange, which has 100% enriched my music making and my perspective on the world. I hope for you.
It's the same.
But to do it so explicitly in conversation on stage is maybe a different thing, especially
of course
at this time.
Yeah.
I guess what would your, maybe you disagree, maybe you agree or maybe you disagree with me, but what would your response to that be? Like, how does it feel to be in this chair answering these questions, aside from the idea that you wanted to leave at the beginning, which hopefully you don't feel anymore? No.
I mean, first I'm grateful about it, but I think it's nothing wrong with it, because going to that two comments, there is nothing wrong. It can be not only interesting, but actually illustrating, because each person has a story behind, and it can be nice or not. But I mean, I'm a piano player, and people likes me, and that's great. But I don't have the chance to talk. So we always, if we have the chance to talk, we should. The same time, I don't know, Gabriela, same like Gabriela Montero does. She plays Rachmaninoff, but she say things that I found important to be said.
And Gabriela Montero, for those who don't know, is a famous Venezuelan classical pianist who has gone the opposite direction of Dudamel and been very outspoken about the political regime there.
Exactly. So if we don't do it, who will do it for us? So, and something important to me, because I teach, so we don't have to get into that, but because I'm pretty sure everybody here is on the same page, political wise, but we have this rehearsal with the big band at CU, and one of the guest teachers, he say, "Hey guys, want to take a minute. Next Tuesday is the election day. Please vote. That's how far he went, you know. Please vote because there is a lot, you know, on risk. So please, this is, you know, school. 19 years old, 20, 21. The next week after the election is over, I'm talking to two of my students, and she goes, Victor, I vote. I know my vote is lost because I'm from Texas and Ted Cruz and all that, you know. And the other kid, no, man, I have nothing to do with politics. And I just, you know, and I say, you should. I didn't go any, you know, but because we really need to make clear to the kids, you know, to the young people, it is very important. It doesn't matter what you do in life, politics will touch you in a way or another. So we gotta be not you know, ready to fight back. No, it's not that. It's just aware of stuff. You know, that's enough. Because if you're aware, you react. You know.
Well, and what also I think is important to note is that everything that we're talking about here is human first, not political. And
yeah,
but it has inevitably swung to the point that when you talk about one, you talk about the other.
Yeah. When I have a friend here, that's how I found out about Boulder, because I was living in Spain in '92, and my friend, you should move to Boulder. It was a whole different country, Venezuela. You should move. So it was kind of invitation. Come and live with me, you know, whatever. But then I moved here for very specific reasons, you know. I was 50, man. 50 people are retiring here. You know, there is no retirement in my forecast. You know, yeah. We literally start over. You know, from zero on the bank to having a dog. You know, yeah. You know.
You've made it.
Yeah, that's the reason we moved from Boulder, because we wanted to have a dog. So we got the dog, and there was no chance but to leave the apartment 2 days later. So. Which means it can be done, but we shouldn't need to do that, you know, when you are 50, you know.
Wait, sorry, is the political statement you're making about co-op boards in Boulder? What is the point you're making?
What do you mean?
You said you shouldn't have to move out of your apartment because you got a dog?
No. We shouldn't have to leave your country, your whole life behind because some crazy guy is, you know, when you're 50 doing stuff on your country. That's what happened to us, you know. But we left the apartment in Boulder because my wife, hey, we have dogs all, you know, since we were babies.
Yeah.
We need a dog. So I went to Colorado Springs, I got my blue heeler, and we left the apartment.
So on that note, I want to open it up to questions. It is that kind of thing. I think we talked for at least an hour the other night, and we talked about all different things than what we've discussed here. So we could just keep going. But is there anybody who would like to be brave and raise their hand and ask a question? Yeah, back in the back.
Well, the Jose is a word game, you know, like Johann Sebastian Bach, and this jazz bar is called Juan Sebastian Bar. You know, so the jazz player will play there from 3 p.m. till late night. It can be 2 a.m. When I play, it was always late night. It was like 9 to 12 or 1, you know. And it was actually, I didn't like the place itself, but the experience, yes, I like it a lot because, well, you play with older players and you learn from the, you know, from the source, like for real, you know. There was this bass player, he was a character, and he will, in the middle of the song, you know, a bolero is going on, and I'm playing the, you know, simple chords. Mm-hmm. So he will be playing, no man, play this, and play that, and play this chord. switch to this. And then when we go back to the top, no, but not all the time. You know, it's like don't do it again.
To keep changing it.
Yeah, exactly. I told you, so I started applying immediately what he told me. 10 seconds, he goes, no, but not all the time. You know,
Yeah.
like he was like.
I feel like you're that way all the time now, where you're always doing something different.
Yeah, that I mean, it was great to play on that sense. It was really something, you know, to play there.
I think we need a Juan Sebastian bar here in Boulder.
It will be.
I think we need to
Johann
steal that
Sebastian.
idea. Anybody else? Dave.
I'm curious about whether the use of 7-beat rhythms, as you did in that piece, is that common in other South American countries, or is that pretty unique to Venezuela?
Yeah, it's not only unique to Venezuela, but in a way to Caracas, unique to Caracas. Everybody knows the word merengue, you know, the dancing in the Dominican Republic, but this is merengue from Caracas. It's 5/8. It's not 2/4 like Dominican. And then, of course, you know, went into the country, and everybody writes and plays merengues, but it was it's like the tango. People relate the tango to Argentina, but the tango is city music. It's from Buenos Aires and Montevideo, you know.
Specifically those cities.
Yeah, it's like flamenco. People think of Spain, but it's from Andalusia. It's not from Galicia or Asturias or Catalonia, you know.
Yeah. Things get so mixed up here.
Yeah.
In a unique way. And I mean, Creole music, or there's regional things, but
Yeah.
there are so few examples, I feel, maybe people will disagree, but the fewer examples in this country of music that is so specific to a city, which gets to that same idea of the way that music is interwoven in society.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
When I first moved to Boulder 50 years ago, there was a club on the frontage road off of 28th Street. If you stayed there late enough, musicians would come up from Denver and sit in. Does that ever happen anymore, where musicians gather?
So if you didn't hear it in the back, the question was that when this gentleman here first moved to Boulder, there was a club where if you stayed there late enough, musicians would come and just start playing with each other. And
yeah, that happens less and less, sadly. Yeah. At least in Denver, there is not like there are jam sessions, but you know, like early jam sessions, there is nothing like after hours, you know, for real. Like
it's organized, right?
Like yeah.
People don't just show up.
Yeah, like in New York, you can go, you know. When I live, well, this is completely different, but that's something that I miss from Venezuela, because you could go a real party, you just play in a friends party. You play, it's 1, it's 3 a.m., it's 4, it's 5. So you stop, cook, and keep going. So it's, you know, that's amazing. And when I live in Spain, the first set, it was at 1:30 a.m. The second one and last one was at 3:30. It was a dream, you know, to be there. It was really great. Yeah. There was I was playing at this cafe like salsa, but in the corner there was a bar called La Noche, you know, the night. They open at 3 a.m. Open. It was like a bar, billiard, so it was from 3 a.m. to noon. Oof, yeah.
That is almost closer to Boulder hours for the avid hikers and everything than the other way around almost. I mean, that would be a way to...
Nobody hikes, nobody exercises, nobody nothing. Yeah.
Not in Caracas, nobody's doing that. Well, Juan Sebastian Bar, when we open it, will be an all-night open door policy. Yeah.
Victor, earlier you spoke of your mother. Have you written a composition in remembrance of her? And if so, could you play a little bit for us?
No, I never wrote anything. I wrote for my wife, I wrote for my daughters, but I never did. It's I don't know, it's like a beautiful, distant memory, you know? It's really beautiful, but it's very distant. Like I remember the voice. I remember things she will get mad at. I remember she likes. At the time they were good. The Oakland Athletics. Yeah, she was really into baseball. Really. But no, I never. Every time I was practicing, she will open the door like this, and I stop. So she will close, and I keep going. See, I regret, but that's the way it was. You know, I don't like people.
Why?
I don't like people listening to me. The only one was my uncle.
So please don't come to any more concerts this week. He doesn't like people listening to him.
Yeah, it was very strange. I mean, it was just bad, but that was me, you know.
Did you have any concerts that were significant that she got to hear?
No, nothing at all. Zero. Nothing.
Wow.
No. She listened to me practicing. That's it. And she really was excited, but no.
Amazing.
She was great. I was telling how when people, how do you got into the piano? I said, well, I started when I was 7. Okay, but the real story is really is nice. You know, we live in this building. We were on the 3rd floor, and the neighbor on the 2nd floor, the girl was taking piano lessons. So my mom decided, all siblings, like 8 years old, 7 and 6, to take piano lessons. But before buying the piano, we would have lessons on the neighbor piano, you know. So we go down to the 2nd floor, take the lesson, and then you could tell some kind of interest or maybe some talent. She bought the piano, and we will have our lessons in our room, you know. So it's just, you know, like, very thoughtful, you know.
Yeah, it's a good way to trial test.
Investing in a piano,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You like go and sit on the neighbor's couch before you decide to buy that couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one more back here.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but when I hear you play the last piece, when you play, like whether you are just doing you are just improvising or you playing something with the embellishment, and I heard you transpose the sentence from, for example, like da na 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 na, then you change the key to da na 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 na, and then you change another da na na na. And so, have you ever messed up what key you were playing?
Oh, many times.
And when that happened, did you try to kind of just fix it, or did you try to jazz it up and no one know what you just?
That's a good question. Yeah,
Oh.
we just fix it on the spot, but we always play mistakes. I can tell you the biggest ever, you know. So I finally proposed to my wife, and we get married. So she loves this version of Lotus Blossom by Billy Strayhorn, by Fred Hersch. So I learned the song, I copied the song, I bring my keyboard to the ceremony on the church, and I'm ready to play the most beautiful version, and I completely freak out. It was really, really bad. Check this. I started playing, just non-stop mistake. It was completely terrible. So years later, my daughters are like 8 and 10 or 7 and 9, and they are watching the video. And the little one says this, wow, man, I'm happy I wasn't there. This is embarrassing. It's completely true. And the other, to finalize the marriage story, it's, you know, we don't like parties and stuff, you know, the big deal. So let's get married. So that was a Saturday. On Thursday, my wife say, wow, Victor, this is supposed to be a once in a lifetime. Let's have a reunion, something. So I called all my friends. And quite a few didn't show up because they thought I was joking.
Well, because you called, you're leaving out an important detail.
Wait, hey man, I'm getting married. Okay, I see you there. Boom.
But you said,
hey man, Gustavo did it. He showed up, and when we finished the marriage on the church, when we get to the house, Gustavo was waiting with the guitar playing serenades for the yeah. Like, it was incredible. It was just fantastic.
I think you're missing one important detail, unless you said it and I didn't hear it, which is that you called them and you said, hey, we're getting married tomorrow.
Yeah.
The party is tomorrow. Come
Yeah.
over. And they thought you were joking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't go up. I didn't show up because I really thought you were joking.
Yeah, yeah. You got to take this guy seriously. Anybody else?
I have one.
Yeah.
So you said you do compose, and you have a couple pieces written, probably many pieces that we haven't heard yet. When you sit down at the piano and you start to compose, where do you start? What's the first thing that happens?
So the question is, when he sits down to compose, what is the starting point for that process?
Well, lately I did, but I compose very little actually. So I'm practicing and I just try to play. And if I like something that I heard randomly, I will grab it immediately and try to write. I don't record or anything. I just try immediately to write it. Yeah, like I play a dance company show like 2 months ago here, and it was different, 4 composers for different choreographies, and the dancer I played for, Lauren Bill, wow, when she sent me the script, I said, wow, what are you gonna do? She was dancing with a tronco, Maria Jose. Stot? Like a big log. Like a tree stump. Yeah, exactly. She was dancing to and with, and I do this and I do that. I said, wow. And so I wrote music, but it was really hard because I never did something so out in my mind, you know. It's like abstract and figurative, you know. It's different, yeah. But I don't have a idea. I just try to go.
It comes from improvisation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a better explanation than mine. It comes from improvising, and then hopefully I will hear something that I like, and I start to dig in, you know. Yeah. Sorry for my cruise ship English. I always say this. I learned, I learned, you know, with Italian, Filipinos, Salvadorian, Venezuelans. It was amazing. So we find this incredible English to communicate to each other.
Yeah. So we're now a little over time, I think, but tomorrow we're doing a very special event at the Collective in Lafayette, which is the city's gallery space. And Adderley Grant Lord, who is here somewhere at the back table, is the artist and curator of that exhibit. She's going to be there with us. And so we've paired music to the art on the walls. Adderley and Victor and I will talk about kind of continuing this conversation about how identity influences work and music and our lives. That'll be great. Space is limited, so if you want to come, definitely register.
We're going to play more.
Yeah,
you know,
and it's going to be with the whole group as well. That's important to note. Yeah. And then on Friday, we're going to be at the Erie Community Center. That'll be the whole group. That'll be a great show that is in a very casual space. There's food provided by the town of Erie, and beverages are going to be sold by Erie Rotary. Then on Saturday morning, if you have little kids or grandkids, we have a family concert at the Canyon Theater at the Boulder Public Library. That's at 11:15. That'll be a lot of fun. And then on Saturday evening at 7:30 is your main stage concert. Why should people come to that one?
because we prepare a lot of music, you know. So, and I really want to play. People check the whole program because it's. I always use the same analogy. He asked me about the program, and well, we are old enough to know this analogy. You know, when you have a record that you really like it, you really like it. But if you have a record that you would take out 2 songs, that's when the cassette tape comes in. You know, the maximum 90 minutes. So you make this incredible selection to you. You know, and it's just whatever fits on the 90 minutes. That's what I did for the concert. You know, it's
The Victor
completely
Mestas
random.
mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
the mixtape.
We should have called the concert that, the Victor Mestas mixtape. It's okay, we'll do it on the next one. I also want to tell all of you, especially those of you who have not attended a caravan event before, about our June festival. That's the next event on our calendar. June 5th to 15th, we have 6 main stage concerts, the first 5 of which feature all different kinds of musicians. So Victor, of course, is a jazz pianist, but we have R&B pop singer-songwriter named Kayla Marquis, who was 303 Magazine's Entertainer of the Year last year. She opens the festival. Gabriel Santiago, who is a great Brazilian guitarist. He played on one of our concerts last year, and then I immediately invited him to be a main stage feature. He was a player in someone else's group, and then I said, you have to come back. Raul Murciano, the Cuban pianist and band leader. And then our friend Rocky Duval, who was born here and grew up here. She has written a show about the 12th century nun, mystic, scientist, composer Hildegard von Bingen. That's going to be very different. And then my concert is the Cultural Caravan's first ever new commissioned work. So it's written by my friend Scott Ordway, and it's titled Letters to My Daughters. This is a project I've been working on for a while, where instead of shoehorning a new piece into an otherwise comfortable program, the entire program is dedicated to taking a deep dive into the composer's own aesthetic, worldview, etc., so that a new piece doesn't seem so new to the people listening to it. But in this particular case, we have been developing this project since November. And Scott has 2 young daughters, and he is struggling to find the words to communicate to them about the world that they are inheriting, about the uncertainty that everybody's facing. And so this piece will be a little bit of a musical time capsule. He's writing actual written letters as well as musical responses to all of those, and we'll combine it with music from history, which was written at different times of socio-political uncertainty. And then the final concert, and I should note that on Tuesday, June 10th, I think that's the right date, we are going to be doing this, but in there, with Scott, to go behind the music on that piece. So sign up for that, bring your friends. He is wonderful and a really funny guy, and so I think that despite the weight of that piece, it should be really special. We also have 10 or 11 pop-up events throughout the community in addition to all of this. So you'll find us at local businesses and other locations throughout the community. And then the 6th and final main stage concert, the festival finale, is, well, you've done it twice before, so you can tell them how that works.
Well, it's great because all these people playing in different dates, they get together to make music together. So it's a very nice...
It's a little bit like the Juan Sebastian Bach bar, but one night only. And it's at a church, so no alcohol, except the sacrament. So that's a very exciting and challenging concert for all of us, where we meld our musical traditions and everybody contributes a little bit of music, and we arrange it for this unconventional group. So sorry, we'll miss you this year, but we have you for this entire week. So you have registered for this event, so if you came with someone who registered, then you might not be on our email list, but if you did register, then you'll get notifications about all of this, arguably too many. But the sooner you buy tickets, then the fewer emails I'll send. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you join us for the rest of this week. It's going to be a very, very special one. And Victor, I love you, man, and thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
shall we have one more piece on the? I feel like you should play something. Yeah.
Okay.
At the risk of keeping all these people here too long. So please give your feedback forms back to Mallory and take the program books home with you.
Okay.
What are we going to hear? El Manicero. We've played this together, I think.
Manicero is the peanut vendor. Yeah, the old Cuban
The peanut vendor.
standard. Yeah. Let's see.
Victor Mestas, everybody, and one very, very important thank you to Glenn Webb and the Dairy Arts Center. You guys are the best partner, and we absolutely love being here. So thank you for hosting us.